Hi guys, podcaster and writer Jemma Forte called it out for what it is, a desperate attempt by the Tories to find something on senior Labour MPs to distract the public from their own failings. She questioned why certain media outlets are so focused on non-story after non-story about Angela Rayner when those running them have their own dodgy tax affairs never highlighted. I believe the Conservative Party are not really getting involved here because they fear it will eventually shine a light on their affairs. Best use rags of newspapers as attack dogs. Have a listen to this.
Well, so what's the Mail on Sunday's line?
I wonder whether these right-wing papers are gauging this correctly. I'm not sure that the optics of these papers, which are owned by non-doms, and the book, of course, that was written by Lord Ashcroft, who saved £112 million in tax by being a non-dom, and they're sort of all absolutely gunning for this working-class woman who bought her council house. And the crime itself, difficult to explain. I'm not sure that it's cutting through. Firstly, it was like the crime was supposed to be, you bought your council house, you're a Thatcherite. That was ridiculous. Then it's like you might owe a 1,500 quid of capital gains tax, but somebody has looked into it. They didn't think that you actually did owe that, and it's been looked into. Now they're saying, oh, you lied about your address because you were on the register, on the electoral roll in this address. It's exhausting.
And she's completely correct. And this is why it didn't make any sense for Angela Rayner to come out and try and explain these things, try to shut this thing down. Because as you've seen, the first quote-unquote crime was her buying her council house. If she had tried to come out and explain that, the right-wing media, of course, would move on to the next story, which was, of course, a non-story, which, of course, was about the tax. That, if she had tried to shut that down, of course, they'd move on to the next story, which they did anyway, which is, well, she had registered in one address and she didn't, and she voted in another or something like that. So they're just trying, so no matter what she would do, they would move on to the next non-story. So there's no way you could win. So there's no point trying to respond to them. There's no point trying to shut it down because they're not interested in actually dealing with the truth.
And the hypocrisy as well from these journalists who are really, really going for it. You're like, where were you? Michelle Donnellan, £34,000 was paid by the taxpayer for your libel case. Where were you when, Johnson spent $7,500 just on alcohol for one of his parties during lockdown, or the £65 million profit that Moan made? There's all this Tory degeneracy. If you are going to go for it with Angela Rayner like this, come on, have some balance.
You're not going to find balance at the Daily Mail or the Express or the Sun because they're there to push Tory narratives. They're there to fight on behalf of the Conservative Party. They've been doing it for decades. See, the Tories are able to use the right-wing media in a very clever way. What they do is they put out a story either in favour of the Tories or against the opposition, and see how it works, see how it filters through. But when it comes to this Angela Rayner story, it's not getting the traction that they had hoped. You notice that there aren't senior Tory MPs getting behind this. There are a few Tory MPs, but they're not senior people. Because they're afraid that this could blow up in their face. They don't want an investigation into Rishi Sunak and his wife. They don't want an investigation into senior Tories. They don't want an investigation into Tory donors. So best let this simmer within the media. And then if it starts to get out of control, then you can just instruct the media, drop this story. Let's move on to something else. And the reason it's also not getting much traction is because people are concerned about more important things, like the cost of living crisis. They're worried about schools. They're worried about the NHS. These are the concerns of the British people at the moment, not Angela Rayner and whether she sold her or bought her council house. That's not important to people. During the pandemic, they tried to do the same with Keir Starmer, Beergate. Not Beergate, Currygate or whatever. They tried to, bring him down. There were stories for 10 days. Day after day after day about Keir Starmer having a curry because they were attempting to bring him down. They were trying to attack him on behalf of the Conservative Party. Did it work? No. They're not very clever. They just throw stuff at the wall hoping something will stick. And this one is not sticking. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.